And good evening, everybody. Welcome into another edition of the Outside the Zone, not the Outside the Zone. This isn't Ohio State. Yeah, this isn't the Ohio State. It's just Outside the Zone. Welcome into our show. Week 5's in the books. We are on the downslope of the season. The regular season is progressing now it's a sprint to the playoffs.
But looking back at time, I feel old, like I said to you.
Right?
You know?
We were young and sprite when the season started. We had a great collective group of games tonight. Maybe some surprising scores.
Yes,
you look at some of the games. One of them was not surprising. It was exactly what we expected. But we'll start with our game of the week between Heelan and SBL. I stayed at this game pretty much the entire game. I got there, I don't know, midway through the first or right when the second quarter was starting. Heelan down 2-0 at this point, and they strike.
What a great ball here.
Just quarterback to quarterback, if you will.
Exactly, yeah.
Brant Hogue to Drew Olson, 50-yard strike. Heelan went up 6-2. It's like we were at a baseball game. They missed the PAT. They led it 9-2 at the half. Just a rocket of a hit from Rizek. Just unbelievable. Heelan, I'll say this, and again, this isn't meant to knock SBL. Heelan was the better team in this game for 3 quarters.
Yes.
But as we've seen, we saw it at Harlan. We saw it with BHRV. SBL just won't quit.
No.
And we've talked about this over and over again. That is the sign of a well-coached team. You very rarely see teams in high school football get down the way SBL has trailed. And let's be honest, they didn't trail by that much.
Yes.
But if you were at the game, if you saw this game, you knew Heelan was dominating the line of scrimmage, as we've seen them do this entire season. And SBL is just able to push back, and whether it be depth, who knows what it was, they just were bound and determined to come back.
You just literally took the words right out of my mouth. It's depth. I mean, they got Delbadane, they got Daniel Wright at quarterback, they got Sam DeMassa, you just saw who. And
this was DeMoss's second pick of the game. We didn't have time to show the other one that he had. He made another one to bring it back inside and actually got them the big touchdown to take the lead. So, I'm impressed with both teams. Like we've talked about, this is a playoff preview. I have to think that these two are going to play. You'd like to see them play. You'd like to see them play in the Dome, but realistically, they're probably going to play to go to the Dome. It'll be interesting to see because you have to think, too, if SBL is able to run the table, they're going to be hosting next time, which, who knows? Sometimes teams play better on the road. You saw it from SBL. But it's really going to be a treat if we can see these teams play again because, I had the thought in my head as the game went to the fourth quarter and Heelan still had the lead. Roger Jansen, he's back. He brought this team. They'd be 5-0. But Justin Smith, in the program he's built, now they both have identical 4-1 records. They were number 1 and number 2 in the RPI. Both teams should be able to make the playoffs. With the RPI system, it'll be interesting to see. But assuming both teams take care of business the rest of the way out, SBL, obviously if they win out, they will be in the playoffs, winning the district most likely if they can take care of business. But Heelan, assuming they can do the same thing, should have a high enough RPI that they
college,
should be on.
You got a quality loss. I mean, you should be able to make the playoff. So many arguments get tossed around every single year.
Thankfully, though, the playoff is a little bit bigger in high school than it is at college football.
Exactly.
Another great game. This was our second game that we had up for vote for Game of the Week and had a lot of votes for it. This was a tough decision, tough vote out there. Akron Westfield and Hinton. Hinton it was really just back and forth, I guess. It was up, it was down. Hinton had a 17-8 lead. Akron Westfield comes back and gets the 2-point conversion to trail 17-16. They're actually driving late in the fourth quarter with under a minute to go, and you'll see it here, I think, in about 2 plays. This is an interception that Hinton came up with.
A great snag, too.
Yeah, this could be another game that we see, in the playoffs. These two, last year, Akron Westfield snapped, I think, a 5 or 6 game win streak that Hinton had, and they look like they, might have upset him again. I think both of these teams, honestly, should be ranked. That's maybe
we've been saying that for a couple weeks.
Yeah, maybe now. Hinton finally got into the rankings. I don't know how you can be 4-0. I mean, they are in the rankings this week, but even being 3-0 last week, they should have been before. But just a big win for Coach Held and Coach Diedeker and the Hinton Blackhawks. The way their district sets up, Akron Westfield and Hinton are definitely the strongest teams in their district. So you got to think if the Blackhawks can take care of business too, they're looking at a district title.
And I was going to say, congratulations to Hinton on the win, but I mean, Akron Westfield, I've told you this for weeks now, that they got the seniors that are motivated. I mean, John Henrich, the guy dominates on the mat for wrestling.
Yep.
And you just saw him, I mean, with that touchdown, just bowling over kids.
And I'm going to say this, and I don't even need to go out on a limb saying this. Akron Westfield is the best 3-2 team in the entire state.
Yes.
Their losses, their margin of error for losses, their scoring margin, 2. They lost 7-6 to Westwood, and now 17-6 to Hinton.
One possession. That's all it is.
I mean, you want to talk about
Well, I mean, 7-6 too. So I mean, it could either, I don't know. I wasn't at the game. It could have been 2 field goals. It could have been missed extra point.
I think if I remember, J-Mac, you're a Westwood expert. I think Akron Westfield went for 2 and didn't get it in that game.
Actually, it was
It was some kind of crazy play at the end, right? Because they almost scored when time was expiring.
Yes, but the Westwood player was able to force a fumble right at the end. And
see, I'm talking about crazy stuff.
Don't let records, kind of let you think one way or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got some good teams in Class A. It should be fun. We're going to check out a game that was actually over in the state capitol between West and Des Moines Roosevelt. And, man, the Wolverines were so close. We kind of mentioned going into this game they were 2-2. They win this game. They obviously, move to 3-2 and start off 1-0 in district play. But, I mean, they're in a tough district. They have to, still play Dowling this year. I think they have to play Ankeny too. But you get this first win over a good Roosevelt team, much improved. That would have, spoke a lot of volumes. They took a late lead, but unfortunately Roosevelt was able to come back and win by 5. But again, I can't stress, and Jess, you've seen him play. You saw him play Heelan last week and give him a game.
Look at that right there.
I mean, yeah, there's some points you could have had, but just hats off to Coach Schultz and how good the West football team is. Like I said, they look like a football team. Not that they haven't before, but it's just there's so much more talent and they're so much more disciplined, and they just from last year to this year, the improvement they've made both on and off the field. You watch the sidelines and stuff, everybody's engaged, everybody's keeping their heads up. I'm really impressed just how much West has improved.
There's a lot of raw talent on West, regarding that. I saw it last year, obviously, you see those kids and you see like a kid like Corey Woodruff where he had all the GPAC schools, whoever else, whatever school wanted him.
And look how good he's doing at Briar
Exactly.
Cliff. Yeah.
So, I mean, you have talent like that where, who knows what happens if you have a couple more kids like that.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yep.
You don't. I mean, if you have the athletes, they just got to, sculpt them a little bit more.
Exactly. And I think for South Sioux fans out there, this is a good team to, kind of see the blueprint of. West struggled for a long time, had double-digit losing streaks, multiple of them.
I'm just getting blown out, too,
But
honestly.
they were able to, you got to start from scratch and kind of build your way up. And I think you're seeing the fruits of their labor, I think, pay off. And hopefully, maybe next year, it's going to be a tough road. They still have an outside shot to make the playoffs. It's going to be tough sledding. But I think if they can keep it going, we could be talking about West in the playoffs.
They got the
maybe
tools,
next
too.
year.
They got Aiden Belt under center. I mean, he's got the cannon. He's got a gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it'll be
J-Mac,
interesting.
Got a comment?
Yeah, from James Turner. We're having a conversation here about the Pocahontas-Eagle Grove game, which we had as a forfeit. They were trying to ask who forfeited. I believe it was Eagle Grove was the one.
Yeah, from what we heard, someone had said, I think we heard 17-0. Sorry, I'm trying to check Twitter right now.
It was 17-0 when I last checked, and it was Pocahontas was 17-0.
Yeah, we're not really sure of what exactly happened, but it was Pocahontas playing Eagle Grove, I believe, and I think that we know that Pocahontas did win, to answer your question. So I think officially it goes in as a 1-0 win.
So
the only time you can score one point in football.
Here we go.
Yeah, and James is wondering. So he's asking why did they forfeit? So what are some of the criteria for a game to?
Honestly, for a forfeit to happen, I believe that it would. I'm guessing from the Eagle Grove side, something happened where maybe they couldn't field enough players, or
usually someone to the roster if you want to forfeit a game.
Yeah,
who was a couple weeks ago? Storm Lake. They had the other.
Well, that was because of an ineligible player.
Exactly.
Now,
So
I'm not sure how that would
roster.
work, but let me see if I can find this here on Twitter. Sorry. Actually, this is coming in from the Pocahontas area Twitter. Eagle Grove has canceled their remaining varsity football schedule for this year. So, therefore, tonight's game, which unfortunately for Pocahontas was homecoming, had to be canceled. That's from the Pocahontas area Twitter. So that's all the details we have. Man, with games being canceled, I mean, we've seen Iowa State and Nebraska have to cancel a game. I don't know if Pocahontas is able to schedule another game. I don't think so. Someone said that they should schedule Iowa State. Let's not get into that. But, yeah, so there you answer your question. So Pocahontas gets the win tonight. A homecoming win, maybe not the way they would have liked it, but unfortunate that Eagle Grove had to cancel their season, too. Another comment?
Yeah, we have one from Adele.
Okay.
You know that name.
Oh, yes, yes.
So Mama Mac here. Again, she actually worked at Westwood when I was there. So
of course.
They're doing great this year. What do you guys think of Westwood so far?
Westwood is.
I haven't seen them, but yeah.
Yeah, we unfortunately, I mean, we've gotten them. We've seen the few highlights and stuff. Westwood is always just a good team.
Ground and pound. That's all they do.
Yeah, I don't know exactly the stats, but I'm guessing they probably haven't thrown more than 30 passes this season through 5 games. Yeah, there's no way. So I know that they had a tough non-district schedule as well, but you beat a team like Akron Westfield, because Akron Westfield's in Class A, Westwood's in 1A. So I mean, they're in, Class 1A is just brutal. You see, I'm having to look right now. I don't think they're in the same district as the Western Christians and the West Sioux and the West Line. I think they thankfully are in a different one, but Westwood's definitely in line to pick up, at least compete for a district title.
Westwood's always in competition. I mean, obviously, it was, I think 2 years ago when I went out there for Game of the Week, I mean, not only on the field, but the quality around it, too. I mean, J-Mac can attest to this, but the fans, and it's just, you go out there, and it's just a whole different atmosphere. For such a small school, they love the Rebel football program, and that's what you want.
It's true small-town Iowa, I think, at its best, and Americana, because it's why we go to these towns. It's fun. As much as we love covering the big games, some of the times the smaller schools are the better ones to cover because the entire town comes out. It's cool when KCAU-9 comes to do, Game of the Week like we have at Westwood and stuff before, which leads into my next point. We could be looking at Westwood here coming up for Game of the Week coming up down the season. So we'll maybe try to send J-Mac down there so you can have a little bit of a homecoming there. But going into some of the other games that we covered tonight, we're going to check out Nebraska now. Let's talk real quickly, of course, number one, Pierce just keeps rolling. I think they put up another. I think actually this is the fewest points they've put up tonight. I think it was 42-21. They got the win over Wayne. But hats off to Wayne too. I mean, they talk about just a complete 180 they've made in the last 2 years. I mean, they had, I think, 2 or 3 straight seasons with a losing record until last year. They make the playoffs, which I think was the only second time they'd ever done it, and first time they got a playoff win since like the 80s.
It's a huge upset playoff, and I forgot who it was, but I mean, they were 14, 15, maybe
I think
13.
Wayne was the 15 or 13 or 14 seed, and actually both of these teams last year made some pretty deep runs or pretty big upsets in the first couple rounds because Pierce was a 15 seed and got to the state semifinals. We were almost staring down a Pierce-Norfolk Catholic state championship game, which,
close.
Gosh, that would have been phenomenal. But hats off to the Blue Jays and hats off to the Blue Devils as well. Could see Wayne sneak into the playoffs. Pierce is probably going to be the runaway team to win a district title if they take care of business. Wayne still has some work to do, but if they can get the quality wins coming down the stretch here,
they definitely have the pieces.
Yeah, those the playoff points system that we see in Nebraska, which I wish Iowa would kind of adopt what Nebraska does. Maybe not the true RPI, because when you get into wins and losses is fine, and opponents' wins and losses is fine, but then you get into the opponents, it's your head starts to spin.
It's like math again.
I was saying, I'm like Alan in The Hangover when he's got all the numbers and stuff flashing in his head. Another comment, J-Mac?
Yeah, James Turner again. You guys were talking about small schools and everything. James asks, what is your favorite small town in Iowa for you and Jesse to cover?
Ooh, just in Iowa. It's a tough one. And I guess how small, I guess, is the other thing. Are we talking a 1A school like Westwood, and granted that's a bunch of communities coming together, or we're talking 8-man football. For me, one that I always think is special, and it's changed a little bit, is Remsen St. Mary's and Remsen Union when they used to play. The Brat Bowl was always great. Got fed. That's always fun. But that is a fun one. Obviously, Lawton Bronson, Woodbury Central is a special rivalry, being Class A schools, 6.7 miles or whatever they are away from each other. Those are probably my 2 favorites in Iowa. In Nebraska, Why Not is a fun place to go.
Yes.
One of the smallest, maybe 500 people at most in Why Not, and they pack the sidelines for 8-man ball. It's a blast. It's fun to go cover, obviously, girls and boys basketball there as well. How about you? You've been in the area now for 2 years.
I was going to say, I got a lot less, cities running through my mind right now, but one that kind of stood out to me was Akron Westfield. I don't know what it is. Hinton too. Just tonight, I'm kind of just reeling through the games right now, but both those teams. Obviously, I did a story on Eli Buck with Hinton, so there's a lot of connections there. So that was kind of fun to do that.
Hinton's just so cool because it's right off the highway.
Exactly.
And you see it. See all the lights and stuff. You can see it from miles away. And same with Akron Westfield. The way that the field kind of sits on top of the hill.
Yes.
It's just a very unique perspective. I'm trying to think of some other. Where I was last week for our game of the week, BRLD. Is a fun little field. A lot of these small schools, they'll play. Wakefield is another cool one too.
Yeah.
They play basically in the outfield of the baseball stadium, but it's very cool to see, the pride. You saw the Heelan SBL game, and that's obviously going to attract a big crowd, but it says something when, it's almost what we see in Friday Night Lights, where the entire town shuts down and is able to come around and rally around the football team. It's why we cherish football so much in this country is because of just the, how it brings
Bloomfield,
communities together.
It's like, what we 1978 women. They had a trophy too, all their medals. Like,
yep. That was pretty cool.
I was gonna say girls volleyball team, but they're women.
And I think Bloomfield's made like 26 or 27 straight playoffs in high school football.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool too. So to answer your question, it's kind of hard to have a favorite. We've got we love covering all of our games, and every town that we go to has its own unique tradition and its own special thing that stands out about it. But those are just a couple that we've got too.
And I'll chime in on that. One of my favorites. It's a trek for us to go to, but Crofton.
Yeah.
Yes. I love going
that
to Crofton.
field.
That's the one. Is that where the field? We talked about this. I think the field, for those of you who haven't been there, is pretty much lined with trees.
Lined with pine trees, and it's so beautiful when it's cold, but when the snow falls, it's such a great looking visual.
Yeah, and actually off of that, I just got reminded of that too, because it's kind of similar as Oakland Craig. Oakland Craig is in the nice park area down there. The golf course is basically right next to it. It's a really pretty place to be as well. We're blessed in Siouxland to have as many good teams.
We just got a comment from Tammy. She says she hopes to see one of you guys at the OABCIG homecoming here in 2 weeks.
We will be there. OABCIG definitely on our list. Tammy, I believe that they got the win tonight, which I think, if my math is right, OABCIG should still be undefeated or at least 4-1. So the Falcons definitely playing some good ball there over in Ida Grove and all the surrounding towns. Of course, the stadium's in Ida Grove. That's why I say that. But notable author, Battle Creek, Ida Grove. We'll get all the towns in there. Did she respond?
No, but we have another. Comments are just rolling.
Love them. Keep commenting.
Bill McIntosh, thoughts of Lewis Central moving to 3A and how Sergeant Bluff would fare in a rematch right now?
Better. Let's put it that way. They would fare a lot better. 41-14, 42-14, whatever the score was. We talked about it that night. It was definitely not indicative of what SBL plays like as a team. They play again. It's a touchdown game, and I could see SBL winning. The thing is, with them now having seen what Duggan is, Lewis Central is talented. Let's put it that way. But Duggan is the straw that stirs the drink? Yeah, there you go. The straw that stirs that drink. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, we'll see how the seedings end up coming out, because I really hope what doesn't happen is that you get a Lewis. It all depends on rankings and stuff too, but most likely we're probably going to see, if everything works out, let's just say a Heelan or SBL makes it to the Dome, and who knows, somebody else could, but we'll just say, for instance, right now, Heelan or SBL makes it to the Dome. Most likely they're going to play Lewis Central in the semifinals to go to the title game. That's just kind of how the state works, where you get the Western teams playing either the Eastern or the Central team. So to answer your question again, I think a lot better than what they did. SBL, that's the one game they weren't able to rally when they were down. But Justin Smith, he's got a monster on his hand, and we're going to be talking, I think, about SBL and Heelan here in less than a month.
I was going to say, who's going to the Dome. The Warriors need to start doing, though, and I'm not, obviously a big analyst, but they could just.
But you played high school football,
Oh yeah, close the yearbook. But no,
better than I did, man. It was high school golf. It was not high school football.
They just need to start better. I mean, that's just. I'm not trying to be, I'm just trying to be blunt about it, because it's like, if you get teams like a Lewis Central, or I'm trying to rattle through the teams right now that are ranked in the top 10. I can't,
They beat a Harlan, who was in the top 10 as well. I mean, Heelan was top 5.
But those teams that have that finisher, can finish those. I mean, that's what kills you. I mean, you're down by a touchdown or two, like you said, the Lewis Central game. It's like they're gonna be able to finish that out. So you got to start faster. And who knows if SBL would have started? Obviously, we weren't at the game, but if they would have started well, who knows? Or BHRV. I mean, they could have won that game by 21 points.
But I think at the same time, that's what makes SBL so dangerous, is that they do get down, and I don't think Heelan took its foot off the gas at all tonight. But maybe BHRV did take it off a little bit last week, and SBL is able to ramp up and play the field position game. I mean, heck, SBL could have been up a lot more tonight against Heelan had they went. I think there were 4 or 5 different 4th and inches that both teams went for and didn't get. SBL went for 2 of them inside the 5-yard line and didn't get it. They had one before I got there, and then the one that I showed, and Heelan had another 4th and inches in SBL territory that they didn't get either. So it's interesting. It's we see who comes away with the games tonight, but who knows? We could be singing a whole different tune come next month. So our final game that we will get to was We actually wish we could show 2 of them, but we're just going to show this one because it was a great game. Top 10 teams. Number 8, Randolph taking on number 9, Hartington, Newcastle. Jess, I'll let you take this one because you were in Hartington and Bloomfield, which we'll talk about here in a second.
I was going to say, yeah, Randolph. When I got there, it was 12-7. So a pretty close game, but Randolph just kind of ran away with it. And just a lot of physicality tonight. I kind of took notice of that. There was a lot of physicality, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's football. But when I was there, Randolph seemed to, have that upper hand in the dominance. Hartington Newcastle really couldn't get past midfield. The couple series that I saw, and then the Cardinals, they kind of just unloaded with the passing game here. Obviously, you can see, the screen pass, and then the smart play to get out of bounds because the clock was ticking down, and he just caught that edge and went right out of bounds. And then that was the last play of the half, so a touchdown for the Cardinals there. I think it was 20-7 or 21-7, whatever it was, but. Randolph, first time covering them, so I haven't really, been able to really dive into what they're all about. But, they look like they're the real deal, honestly. If they're able to take down a top 10 team like Hartington Newcastle like this, who knows? Look at the defense. You got about the whole team.
Trying to take them down.
I was going to say, granted, that goes, a little credit to the running back there, taking down the whole defense.
Yep.
But, they're all swarming to the ball.
And it'll be interesting, too, because I think it's in 2 or 3 weeks that Randolph will take on Bloomfield, who we also had Bloomfield highlights tonight. Bloomfield took care of Allen. So Bloomfield, Allen, so Bloomfield 7th. Randolph was 8th, Hartington Newcastle 9th, and Allen was unranked but undefeated. All 4 of those teams in the same district were 4-0 heading into tonight. Only Randolph and Bloomfield now are 5-0. So those 2 will meet up here, and I think in a couple weeks.
Bloomfield made a statement tonight, 44-0 over
Allen.
Allen.
Good, man.
And
really good.
Someone was asking me at the Randolph game because I think it might have been actually the ref on the sidelines. Goes, so what about Bloomfield? What's kind of feeling it out? I go, they got size, and that's kind of surprising being
for an 8-man school. Yeah,
8-man school.
And
I'm looking at the line.
Too,
yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely. Any more comments, J-Mac?
Nope, I'm sending out one final request.
Alrighty, sounds good. We'll chat here for a second. College football coming up tomorrow. We've got Iowa State hosting Akron, 2-0 Akron. This is a team that just rallied and beat Northwestern. Should be a tough game for the Cyclones. Cyclones definitely playing with some heavy hearts, losing the golfer, that was just senselessly killed in just an absolute tragedy over there on Coldwater Golf Course. For any of you who ever have been to Ames, Jack Tray Stadium more or less overlooks part of the front 9 there at Coldwater. So just absolutely senseless. Fans going to be. I'm actually going to be taking in the game tomorrow. It's going to be my first Cyclone game as a fan. So what a game to experience. But then we've got Nebraska visiting the Big House and number 19 Michigan, still trying to get that first win from Scott Frost. I think I swear to God I've said this every week, but I think it does. I think it can happen tomorrow. I won't say that it does. I don't want to jinx the Huskers, but I think if Nebraska plays disciplined, because they did not last week versus Troy, and I also will say this: had Nebraska played week 1 against Akron, I think they're 3-0 right now. I think that's how different this season has changed.
Well, it throws a wrench in,
it does. You don't get that. You don't get that. Akron still would have been a tough game, and I think it probably would have been a lot closer than anybody would have expected, but I still think the Huskers get that win by 14 points or more. And then they go into Colorado, and they don't have as much tension there. Maybe Adrian Martinez doesn't get hurt. They definitely wouldn't lose to Troy again. Yeah. So it's amazing how much one game, they
weather system. Them on everything last week. That's the crazier thing, where it's like you look down the stats and it's like,
their linebacker gets thrown out for targeting. Yep. They get another personal foul on the next play. It's just the discipline, and the team is, excuse the phrase, pissed off. They want everybody to buy in. And I think you're going to see a fired-up Nebraska team. Don't be surprised if they go up, and this comes down to a last-second field goal or whatever. And then, of course, an Iowa game under the lights at Kinnick, taking on number 18 Wisconsin. Yeah, number 18 Wisconsin, who's just coming off a BYU loss, which was just was the cherry on top of a horrible week for the Big Ten. Other than Penn State won, Michigan won, Ohio State beat TCU,
and Minnesota, baby,
and Minnesota.
Go Ghosts, roll that.
That's
boat.
right. Did they beat my Miami Redhawks?
Yes, they did. Roll that boat. 3-0. But that probably won't last long, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see. But the winner of the Iowa-Wisconsin game should absolutely be the front runner in the West. And I said this to Justin Barker the other day on the radio. If Iowa wins this game, just go ahead and flash back to 2015, because it could be another special season. You look at Iowa's schedule. I think they go at Minnesota, so that's a rivalry game on the road. And then they go at Penn State. But they can still, if they beat Wisconsin, they can lose to Penn State and still win the West, assuming they then beat, the rest of their schedule and beat Nebraska. But, let's not count our chickens before they hatch, but maybe look into tickets to Indianapolis.
Ooh,
maybe.
I like that.
Maybe. We'll see.
I don't know. Northwestern always scares me.
Well, Northwestern scares Husker fans too. So, and I think they have to go to Evanston this year too. So it should be interesting. Any last comments? Anybody have any other questions? Other than that, I think we're gonna wrap things up.
Adele says thank you for all you did tonight. Great input. And
absolutely, Adele, and thank you for the salsa. I never got a chance to thank you. It was delicious and just the perfect amount of spice. Just delicious. And the jam, too.
I was going to say, I didn't get any of that, but hey, that's fine.
It's coming. Don't
hey,
worry.
Boss's Pizza and Chicken, hey, you know what? I'm still...
I was saying, maybe just ask Fossey. Yeah. I just want to see if Fossey wants to just take you over there, and you're going to need a lot more than $20, though, so we'll talk about that. But anyway, yeah, we're on the downhill slide of the rest of the regular season. Week 6 coming up next week. Really haven't had a chance to look ahead to some of the games, but Jesse, we'll look at the schedule, and we'll have the votes that you guys can vote on our Sports Zone Twitter. So you're on Facebook now. Head to Twitter, and you can go ahead and vote on where our game of the week will be next week. We're getting closer to the playoffs, man.
Yeah, we are.
The district picture became a lot more clear this week. Obviously, congratulations to everybody that we covered. Everyone that we didn't cover, congratulations on wins. I know it was a homecoming week for a lot of teams, so always good to, have that fun time of year. I miss it. Be safe at the dances coming up tomorrow, and have a good weekend. And that's going to do it for Outside the Zone. We will see you back here next week for Week 6. Have a good weekend, everybody.